They called her the token pilot, until the flight instructor removed his cap and saluted. Real cockpit pressure. Real stakes. The salute nobody expected. Want to know why he did it? Emily Henderson arrived before dawn. Dry air, cold steel. Red lights blinking like patient eyes. She signed her name on a clipboard that felt heavier than it should. No fanfare. No welcome. Only the smell of avgas and the murmur of doubt. The academy sat on desert flats, sun still buried behind the hills. Cadets drifted in with coffee and swagger. Emily carried a cheap duffel and a logbook with an elastic band. Someone behind her whispered, soft but sharp. "Quota win. Watch this one fold," she pretended not to hear. She had promised herself. Listen to weather, not to people. Still the words hung in the air like dust. She felt them in her shoulders. Ground school began with aerodynamics. She knew this part. Lift, drag, angle of attack. She answered when asked, voice low, facts clean. The instructor, Mr. Brandt, nodded without looking at her. Adequate, break. 2 cadets laughed about call signs. One asked her if she had ever actually landed anything that moves. Her smile held. A bad day. Many times. Afternoon brought the simulator. She strapped in and ran the checklist from memory. Battery, beacon, mixture rich. Her hands were steady, but her chest was not. Crosswind. The sim threw gusts like stones. She crabbed, kicked, flared, then ballooned, lost it, and kissed the runway hard. The instructor exhaled through his teeth. Again, she went again, better than worse. Slid over center line, reclaimed it, then bounced. "Stop," he said, and marked the clipboard. On the walk back, a cadet passed her with a grin. "Don't worry, they need the brochure." She caught her breath like a swallowed coin, said nothing. Walked on night study in the dorm. She laid out flashcards, V-speeds, light gun signals, weight and balance math. Her phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "You don't owe anyone proof. You owe yourself altitude." She wrote it on a sticky note and hid it inside the logbook. Then she opened a cheap spiral notebook labeled Fix. She listed every mistake she made today. Next to each, a single action. Crosswind balloon, trim earlier. Late rudder, practice feet-only drills. Head noise, breathing count 4 to 4, 6, lights out, eyes open. A memory surfaced. Her at 12, counting contrails in a winter sky. Her father had left the year before. Her mother had said, "Hold the line." Emily learned to grip hope with small hands. At 03:55, she gave up on sleep and walked to the hangar. Doors hummed like a living thing. The simulator bay was dark. She keyed the room, warmed the seat, and started again. Crosswind, approach, breathe in, 4. Hold 4, out 6. She touched imaginary asphalt and did not bounce. Once. Twice. 5 times. The sun rose when she finished. Brandt found her there, hair tied, eyes calm. "You're early," he said. "I'm late," she answered. "For who I need to be." His face barely moved. "We'll see." He waved her toward a real aircraft that gleamed like a dare. Cessna skin, cool under dawn. He pointed at the tail number. Pre-flight. Out loud. She started. Fuel caps, hinges, tires with tiny stories carved in rubber. She knew the ritual. She knew the words. Then she slid beneath the wing and froze. A hairline fracture glinted at the base of a flap track. Small. Mean. Easy to miss. Her pulse thudded. She stood, called Brandt. He crouched, squinted, touched the line. Then he looked at her for the first time like she was actually there. "Good catch," he said. A voice behind them cut in, teasing. "Even a token can find a crack." Emily turned. The cadet smiled like a blade. Brandt's jaw tightened. He said nothing. Emily did. "Want to see what I find in the air?" she asked. The cadet laughed. "Sure," he said. "If you ever get there." She strapped in for the day's graded sim. Brandt adjusted the headset, eyes unreadable. "Crosswind again," he said. She nodded. Then the power flickered. The sim went black, and a real aircraft engine outside coughed like a warning. If you want part 2 of Emily Henderson's token pilot story, real cockpit stakes, aviation grit, and the salute that changed everything, hit subscribe. Tap the bell and comment "Clear to climb." The siren snapped the morning in half. Brandt's radio came alive. Tower to ground. Training 2 reporting oil pressure drop. Returning pattern, priority. He moved fast. Abort sims. Everyone outside, cadets spilled into the light, eyes up. A white speck turned base to final, dirty and low. The prop blurred, sound ragged. "Who's in there?" someone asked. "Dixon," another muttered. "And Cole." Emily watched the glide. Shakier than it should be. Nose wobbled. Runway long but not long enough for mistakes. The plane touched down hard and held. Brakes smoked. It rolled to a stop alive. People clapped, a nervous kind of prayer. Dixon climbed out shaking, coal pale as paper. Brant checked them, asked quick questions, waved medics away. Then he turned to the crowd. Back to schedule. The academy reabsorbed the scare like a lung refilling, but the edges stayed sharp. Emily felt it in her bones. Engines give. People give. Training is what remains. Her sim time resumed. Black screen back to life. Crosswind pounded the fake runway. She centered, kicked, flared, and put it down clean. Brant said nothing. Again. She did it again. On the third run, she corrected too soon. Skated left, pulled right, saved it. Brant scribbled notes and set the sim to night. Darkness amplifies lies, he said. She learned the lies in her hands and the truth in her feet. That evening, she studied weather. A trough sliding in. Scattered cumulus. Wind shifting by degrees like a slow decision. At dinner, a cadet named Rhea sat across from her. Nice catch on the flap, Rhea said. Emily shrugged. Metal talks if you listen. Rhea lowered her voice. They're betting you won't solo this month. Who's they? People who don't bet on themselves. Emily smiled without joy. Then let them lose money. Rhea leaned back. Brant. He's not a talker, but he tracks everything. He notices. I can't fly for his eyes, Emily said. Then fly for your own, Rhea replied, lights out again. Emily walked the line of aircraft alone, fingers brushing rivets. She whispered tail numbers like small prayers. The moon made the tarmac look like water. Next morning brought first supervised pattern work. Real airplane, real wind. The headset pinched. She liked it. Brant's voice filled her ears. Calm. Exact. Taxiing Bravo. Hold short 19. Read back. She read back word for word. He did not correct her. Run up complete. Mixture lean then rich. Magnetos checked. She felt the prop pulse through her legs. Brant watched, a statue with a heartbeat. Cleared for takeoff, Tower said. Emily lined up. Centerline, breath. Throttle forward. The engine answered. Airspeed alive, rotate wheels slipped free of Earth. Her stomach didn't drop. Her fear did. She called crosswind, turned, set power. Brant said, nose, don't gift the wind your climb. Downwind. Flaps 1, abeam the numbers. Power back, trim set. Checklists like music bass. Crosswind began its dirty work. She fought with feet, not wrists, final. Crab straight and flare, and the gust fell out from under her. The plane sank a foot. She tapped power, corrected, felt the wheels kiss asphalt like a secret. Roll out steady, flaps up. Take off again. Brant's voice. Pattern work is humility on repeat. She smiled. I've had practice. Lap after lap sanded away her rough edges. On the last one, she planted it so smooth she barely felt the mains. Taxiing off, she kept her voice even. Requesting feedback. Brant paused. Feet were late in the first, on time in the last. Your eyes are honest. Keep them that way, they parked. A cadet leaned on the fence and clapped slow. Not bad for marketing material, he said. Emily stepped closer. Say that to my rudder, he snorted. Walked away. Brant watched him go. Then he did something new. He handed Emily a folded slip. Saturday. Solo eval window. Earn it. Her heart did a small, dangerous kick. She nodded once. Copy. He flicked a glance toward the admin building. By the way, the new chief instructor wants to observe. Likes making examples of me, of anyone the room picked to underestimate. Then I'll write my own caption, she said. Brant's mouth twitched, almost a smile. Do that, and Henderson, check the weather on Friday night. Don't get surprised. She spent the next days doing two things, flying and interrogating fear. She walked herself through failure like a tour guide. Here is where panic lives, notice it. Don't build a house. It helped. Friday evening, the METAR updated. Wind shift. Gust front predicted near noon. Her slot was 11:40. Comment salute coming and share this with a friend who loves real pilot training, cockpit grit, and underdog aviation wins. Subscribing keeps this story climbing. The desert sky looked clean until you watched it move. Flag snapped sideways. Thermals muscled up from the runway like invisible fists. Emily logged the signs in her head and kept her breathing steady. She met Rhea by the vending machines. Heard the chief is a hawk, Rhea said. I like hawks, Emily replied. They only eat what they catch. Brant briefed her in 3 paragraphs, simple. No fluff. Pattern only. 3 full stops. If anything smells wrong, we stop. Speak what you see. Don't race the wind, she repeated it back. He nodded once, satisfied. A tall man in a tan cap stood by the fence. No name tag. Sunglasses like a verdict. He spoke to Brant, not to her. Emily climbed in and buckled down. Checklist allowed. Her voice felt steady enough to sit on. She rolled to the hold short. Winds 210 at 16 gust 24 runway 19. Remember, Brant said, use judgment. No hero stuff, she smiled. I'm allergic to hero stuff. Cleared for takeoff. Throttle to the firewall. Airspeed alive. Rotate at 60. She lifted into a fistfight. Turbulence hit like potholes. She rode the bumps with small hands, kept her scan moving. Altimeter, airspeed, attitude. No room for thoughts that did not help. Downwind. She called her position and set up. The gusts flirted with her wings. She flirted back with rudder. First landing, firm but honest. Second better, a clean flare in ugly air. Third, wind shifted mid-final. She felt the nose drift, corrected, and saw a shimmer over the numbers. Wind shear, a low ribbon of sinking air. She didn't wait to learn its name twice. She added a whisper of power and raised the nose a hair. The mains reached for the runway and found it. Roll out true. She breathed for the first time in a minute. Full stop, she said into the mic and taxied clear. Her hands hummed. Not shaking, alive. Brant's shoes appeared by her door. She opened the canopy and let the heat wash out. He looked at his clipboard, then at her. Decision-making was sound. You felt the sink. You fixed it. That's flying, not acting. She glanced at the tan cap near the fence. The chief instructor stayed back, eyes hidden, listening. He said nothing. Not yet. Emily did the paperwork. Brant kept his tone flat, but his pen was a quiet celebration. Recommendation solo approved, conditional on tomorrow's wins, she nodded, throat tight. Copy. The tan cap moved closer. He took off the sunglasses. His eyes weren't cold. They were busy, counting things she couldn't see. What's your name, cadet? Henderson, sir, Emily. You flew the air you had. It wasn't praise or a test. It was a measurement. Yes, sir. He put the glasses back on. To fly alone is to argue with yourself and win. Tomorrow you'll find out if you can. He turned and left with the quiet of someone used to being followed. Brant gave the smallest shake of his head. Like today's weather had surprised him too. Be here early. Bring a brain that bends, not a spine that breaks. Night crept in. Emily walked the perimeter again. Gate, fence, tail numbers. She touched the wingtip of the plane scheduled for her solo, and felt heat left over from the afternoon. She whispered, "We will not embarrass each other." Back in the dorm, she wrote one page titled Tomorrow. 3 lines. Fly the plane you have. Speak the truth even if it's ugly. If doubt arrives, give it a seat and keep flying. Sleep came like a bargain she could afford. At 4:02, she woke to silence so deep it sounded like a dial tone. She packed light. Logbook. Headset. A coin her mother had pressed into her palm years ago. On it, a single word. Whole dawn drew a line across the horizon. Windsocks angled but calmer than forecast. She strapped in and ran the pre-flight like a ritual that honors the living. Brant leaned in. If anything feels wrong, anything, you land and we try again. Understood? Understood. He closed the door. Her world shrank to a cockpit and a runway and a voice in her head that said simply, fly. Clearance came. She eased onto the center line, lined the nose with the far fence. The world ahead narrowed. She pushed the throttle and the engine answered. The mains lifted. Earth let her go. The headset died mid-climb. Silence isn't silent in a cockpit, it roars. It fills every gap with the sound of your own blood. Emily checked the plug. Secure. Jiggled the cord. Nothing. Switched to COM 2. Dead. She breathed once, slow, and went to the book in her bones. Radio out. Light gun signals. She turned downwind and kept the pattern tight, scanning for the tower window like it was a lighthouse. Sun threw heat through the plexiglass. Vibration mapped her back. She angled the plane so the tower could see her wings. A small figure leaned out. The light gun pointed, blinked steady green, cleared to land. She called it in her head anyway. Final 19. Hands did what practice had taught them. Feet corrected the lies the wind told, short final. A gust shoved her sideways. She answered with rudder and patience. The mains found the runway and held rollout. At the first taxiway, she looked up at the tower again. Steady green. Cleared to taxi, she pulled off and breathed. Only then did she realize her shoulders had climbed to her ears. She dropped them with intent. Brant jogged toward her, expression unreadable, a screwdriver in one hand and something like pride in the other. "You kept your world small," he said. "Good." The tan cap stood behind him. Close now. He watched Emily with a specific kind of stillness, like a test he wanted to pass too. Brant reached in, checked connectors, reseated the plug. Headset hiss returned like surf. "Faulty jack," he said. "Again?" Emily asked. He nodded toward the runway. Again, she taxied out. Winds had found new toys. Gus played tag with the sock. She rolled and lifted. Second circuit, normal until base. She saw the shimmer again. Heat or sink or both. Instead of guessing, she added power early and kept the nose honest. Final came to meet her halfway. Third circuit, surprise from above. Lift evaporated for a heartbeat. She did not chase the altimeter. She flew attitude, then numbers. Each landing cut a little more fear from the air. By the last full stop, she felt as if she had learned a new alphabet and could finally spell her own name. She taxied to parking. Brant didn't move. The tan cap stepped forward. He removed the sunglasses. His eyes were pale and they were not cold at all. He spoke softly, but the hangar heard him anyway. "Cadet Henderson," he said. "Permission to—" He stopped, like he had to argue with habit. Then he lifted his right hand and took off his cap. The ramp air went tight. Even the wind seemed to crouch. "Permission to salute," he said. Emily's mouth went dry. Her brain offered her the easy joke, token this, but she let it go. She stood by the wing and swallowed whatever wanted to cry. "Permission granted," she said. He saluted, sharp and clean. The motion rang louder than any applause. He held it a second, maybe two. Long enough for every cadet to understand that this was not theater. When he dropped his hand, Brant finally smiled. Not big, real. In front of witnesses, Brant said, "You flew your judgment, not your fear." Someone started clapping. It spread like sun on metal. Emily didn't bow, didn't grin. She touched the metal edge of the wing with one finger and felt its heat. So much of what she had carried turned to steam and left without asking. The tan cap cleared his throat. "Chief Instructor Harrow," he said, offering a name at last. "You'll report to my office at 1500. "For what?" she asked. "To talk about what comes after solo," he said, "if you want it." His eyes flicked once toward a group of cadets near the fuel truck. They looked away, caught. The applause thinned to sentences. "Congratulations. Nicely done." That was clean. Rhea hugged her so fast it startled a laugh out of her. At 14:59, she knocked on Harrow's door. His office smelled like leather and dust and old paper. He didn't sit. He handed her a thin folder. "Special evaluation," he said. 2-leg nav. "Unfamiliar strip?" "Weather's rude." "When?" she asked. He checked the clock. "Wheels up in 40 minutes, she blinked. "Why me?" He shrugged, almost smiled. "Because some people only learn by watching the person they dismissed fly farther than they can imagine." She opened the folder. Coordinates. Fuel pains. Airspace notes. On the second page, a warning. Strip has a dogleg approach with a downslope. "Who designed this landing?" she asked. "A comedian." Harrow grinned. "Go brief. Bring Brant. And Henderson." She looked up. "This one has a mountain shadow that eats altimeters." Dusk erased edges. What looked flat at noon now tilted like a trick table. The dogleg required faith in geometry and nerves that didn't brag. Emily set power by sound, not hope. Checked wind drift against treeline lean. The mountain shadow poured across the approach like ink in water. She felt her depth sense warp. "Trust the lights," Brant had said in the brief. "Poppy doesn't flatter. It tells the truth impolitely. Too white, too red." She was on path. Then a gust turned one light pink and rude. She corrected with a breath, not a jerk. The runway's threshold markers slid toward her like cards in a dealer's hands. She held a whisper of power across the flare, wheels touching the downslope with a sly nudge. Rollout. Alive. She breathed. Taxiway was thin as a thread. She followed it like a thought she didn't want to lose. Parked by a shack with a windsock the size of a lie. Harrow's voice over the radio, calm and dry. "Leg 1 complete. 10 minutes. Fuel check. Weather worsening on the return. If you prefer a night on the mountain, the bunkhouse has mice with seniority. Negative, she said. We go back. She calculated fuel with the care of a surgeon. Numbers clean. Reserve safe. She looked at the sky. The mountain ate the last light and asked for more. Takeoff roll felt longer here. Density altitude playing price hikes. She rotated, climbed into purple air and pointed the nose toward home. The return leg was not kind. Wind carved at the wings. A layer of thin cloud smeared the stars. She stayed one step ahead, never trusting a single instrument without a friend. 10 miles out, the academy runway lit up like a promise. Then the crosswind arrived with company. She briefed herself out loud, the cockpit a church for honest words. Final. Gusts. Aim point before point. Don't chase. Fly the picture. She flew the picture. It tried to flee. She brought it back with patience. Touchdown. Firm. Fair. Taxi to the line. Harrow and Brant stood at the edge of the wash of light. Harrow looked like a man with a secret he might share. Brant looked like someone who'd just stopped holding his breath. Harrow reached for his cap again. The ramp hushed, expecting a second salute. He didn't give it. He did something quieter. Henderson, he said, voice level. File this under not an accident. You're invited to an advanced course. Page 2 has the dull parts. Page 3 has the scary parts.